He saved the show from collapsing, wrote its heartbeat, and then vanished from the spotlight. This is the story of Star Trek's unsung architect.
The following program is brought to you in living color by Trek World.
The following video is the most current in a series of videos that will give you a truly unique viewpoint of the behind-the-scenes happenings during production of Star Trek: The Original Series. The video is based entirely and exclusively on the book Inside Star Trek, which was written by Herb Solow and Bob Justman. You will find an affiliated link in the description that will take you to Amazon to check on availability of a good deal. I highly recommend that you buy a copy of this book and read it. Between this book and The Making of Star Trek by Stephen Whitfield and Gene Roddenberry, you have the only insiders present at those earliest days to carry these stories forward. Or, as they say, straight from the horse's mouth. There's a special kind of reverence in the book whenever Gene Coon's name appears. It's not loud, not dramatic, not wrapped in legend the way Roddenberry's is. Instead, it's quieter, like a ripple spreading across the surface of the show's chaotic production history, reminding you that greatness doesn't always announce itself. Coon wasn't the man in front of the camera. He wasn't the one whose name thundered through opening credits. And he wasn't the charismatic visionary pitching utopian futures to NBC. But the book makes it clear. Gene Coon was the soul builder, the structural architect, the stabilizer, the quiet genius who emerged in the middle of the storm, looked around, and said,
"Let's make this work."
And while Roddenberry supplied the dream, it was Coon who supplied the rhythm. What I love most about reading these behind-the-scenes recollections is the emotional undercurrent. See, Roddenberry was the philosopher, romantic, idealistic, evangelical about humanity's potential. But Coon was the storyteller, the builder, the craftsman who could take a half-formed concept, scattered script pages, budget constraints, and a ticking clock, and turn it all into an episode people would watch 50 years later. The beauty of Coon's contribution lies in how unassuming it was. He didn't walk into Star Trek trying to dominate it. He walked in trying to fix it. At the time he arrived, the book paints Star Trek as a show held together by stubbornness and caffeine. Scripts running late, writers burning out, memos flying like phasers set to kill. The pressure was enormous, and the cracks were already visible. Roddenberry, brilliant as he was, couldn't carry the writing load alone. No one could. And that's where Coon stepped in. He brought something the show desperately needed: structure. You can feel the relief in the way the book talks about him. The staff needed someone who could write quickly, write cleanly, write effectively, without demanding endless rewrites or philosophical sparring matches. They needed someone who could look at Roddenberry's ideals and translate them into episodes that moved. Coon did that, and he did it with a kind of quiet competence that made everyone breathe easier. No drama, no ego, no explosions of conflict. Just pages delivered on time, stories that landed, and dialogue that felt effortlessly human. He wrote fast, but he never wrote cheap. The book treats this like a miracle, and in a way, it was. Because while Roddenberry grappled with the pressure of steering the ship, and while writers like Ellison and others clashed violently with the production process, Coon moved smoothly, confidently, almost invisibly. His presence became the glue that held everything together. The book highlights something else too. Something easy to miss, yet deeply revealing. Coon wasn't afraid to make the show funny when it needed humor. He didn't treat the future as a sterile place where everyone spoke in grand declarations. His characters teased each other, grumbled, joked, reacted like real people facing unreal situations. That texture matters. Without it, the world feels hollow. With it, the Enterprise becomes a living place, warm, unpredictable, human. The book even hints at a subtle shift in tone after Coon's arrival. Suddenly episodes had balance, tension mixed with levity, stakes mixed with character moments. There was breathing room in the drama, which only made the emotional beats hit harder. He didn't undermine Roddenberry's vision. He grounded it, and he did so with remarkable speed. The book repeatedly praises how Coon could turn drafts around in days, sometimes hours, while others took weeks and demanded heavy revision. This wasn't just efficiency, it was survival. A weekly television show doesn't wait for inspiration. It demands momentum. It demands structure. It demands someone who can look a deadline in the face and say,
I've got this.
Coon always had it. There's a moment in the book, a small one, but it stays with me, where someone describes how Coon's pages would arrive with a kind of calm energy, not flashy, not overwritten, not crumbling under philosophy, just good storytelling, line after line of dialogue that actors could deliver easily, scenes that directors could film without headaches, emotional arcs that audiences could follow without confusion. He made Star Trek feel accessible without weakening its message. And then there's the emotional heat under the surface. The staff grew protective of him. You can sense that. They weren't just grateful. There was admiration, even affection. Coon treated the crew with respect. He treated the other writers as collaborators instead of obstacles. He listened. He adjusted. He delivered. All the while, he remained almost painfully humble. The book makes it clear that Coon didn't seek the spotlight. He wasn't trying to be the visionary. He wasn't trying to be the icon. He wasn't trying to rival Roddenberry's role. He was trying to make good television. And that humility, ironically, is what made him essential. But the war between Roddenberry and the writers created unavoidable tension, and Coon was caught in it more than once. Even though he rarely fought back, he understood the system, understood Roddenberry's protective instincts, understood the pressure hell of delivering a show that had already defied gravity just to get on the air. He didn't rebel against that system. He navigated it, silently, professionally, elegantly. That's why I think the book treats him like a stabilizing force, someone who lowered the temperature of every room he entered. Where others sparked conflict, he sparked collaboration. And the episodes that came out of that collaboration had a certain heartbeat to them, a warmth that complemented Roddenberry's idealism, where you can see it in the structural tightness the show developed. You can hear it in the emotional clarity of its dialogue. You can feel it in the rhythm of episodes that finally flowed. Coon didn't just shape stories, he shaped the shape of stories. And then something quietly heartbreaking happened. He left, not in an explosion of bitterness, not in a dramatic showdown, not in the kind of fiery disputes that marked other writer departures. He simply stepped away. And the book's tone when describing his exit is subdued, almost mournful. Because everyone knew what they were losing. Once he was gone, the writing load grew heavier. The rewrites grew harsher. The fractures widened. The stability Coon brought, that invisible scaffolding, was suddenly gone. And the show felt it. Episodes became harder to wrangle. Tensions rose again. Roddenberry resumed far more of the load than was healthy, and staff who had once relied on Coon's steady pace found themselves struggling to hold things together. Yet Coon never complained, never demanded recognition, never tried to reclaim his role. He moved on, leaving behind a body of work that the book treats with deep, enduring respect. And that's what makes his legacy so haunting. Roddenberry was the visionary, but Coon was the builder. Roddenberry dreamed the world. Coon made that world walk, breathe, speak, and feel real. He didn't invent the philosophy. He invented the texture. He didn't write the manifesto. He wrote the humanity. He didn't demand credit. And so, he never got enough. But when you look back now, when you sift through the book and feel the emotional truth beneath its memories, you realize something. Star Trek would not be Star Trek without Gene Coon. Not in tone, not in shape, not in spirit. His fingerprints are everywhere, invisible and irreplaceable. He was the one who steadied the ship when the storm threatened to capsize it. He was the one who proved Star Trek could be weekly television, not just a beautiful idea. He was the one who took Roddenberry's future and gave it character, warmth, and beating heart. And he did all of it quietly, gracefully, humbly.